Schizophrenia is a mental illness characterized mainly by an inability to differentiate from reality and products of one's mind, along with many other complex symptoms. These are some symptoms of schizophrenia.
For 21 million people with schizophrenia, daily life is hard. We can alleviate this by increasing education about mental illness in the public and decreasing stigma about medication for mental illness, helping millions. The dopamine hypothesis states that dopamine is transmitted to much and less active areas of the prefrontal cortex and in a pathway in our brain called the mesolimbic pathway, causing the brain to go into overdrive and cause schizophrenia. Neurotransmitters are passed between neurons to transmit signals between these neurons. The diagram on the right illustrates cell signaling for dopamine receptors.
Risperidone is commercially known as risperidone. This is the structure of the D2 receptor. The top part is where the risperidone and dopamine would bind, which is located outside the cell, and the bottom part is inside the cell.
So a little bit on how risperidone works. First, risperidone binds to the D2 receptor in a signal transduction pathway as shown on the left. This binding activates the G protein in the next part of the pathway as seen on the animation on the right. These G proteins are composed of alpha, beta, and gamma subunits, but we're most concerned about the alpha subunit. There are many types of alpha subunits, one of which, the GI alpha subunit, is used to inhibit the actions of an enzyme called adenylyl cyclase that uses ATP to create CAMP. Because of this, there's a decrease in CAMP production, and ultimately this addresses the issue of too much dopamine in certain parts of the brain in schizophrenia patients. So risperidone affects two different pathways in the brain, the first of which is the nigrostriatal pathway, and this frequently causes pseudoparkinsonism and other symptoms. The other pathway that risperidone affects is the mesolimbic pathway. When it blocks the D2 receptor, it treats the positive psychotic symptoms.
Some side effects.